All right, back again, talking more Broncos football as we head into week 4. Oh my gosh, it's the best time of the year. But before we preview the big keys to the Jets game, let's talk about the big headlines that come into your Thursday evening and Friday and so on and so forth. So the big news for the Broncos coming out of the camp is Alex Singleton lost for the year with a torn ACL. It happened during the Tampa game. He didn't really notice it, so he kept continuing on in the game, finished the game, and then after he felt some knee soreness, and then that knee swelled up, and the MRI revealed that he did have a torn ACL, so he will be out for the rest of the season. And with that, the Broncos signed 2 veteran linebackers to the practice squad. Quan Alexander and Zach Cunningham are now members of the Denver Broncos. Alexander actually played for Sean Payton in New Orleans during his stops in the NFL. He last played for, funny enough, the New York Jets. And as for Cunningham, he was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles last year, and he had 10 starts on top of that. So, continuing along with Singleton, you lose your captain, you lose your communicator on the field. He brings the play calls in for the rest of the defense, and you lose your leading tackler from the past 2 seasons. That's a big blow, and he was already having a great start to this year. So you're not going to replace a guy like that, especially with his leadership and the respect he's commanded in that locker room. So the Broncos middle linebacker situation will really have to be by committee. They're going to have to rely on Cody Barton and Justin Strnad this Sunday, and they might elevate a guy like Alexander or Cunningham to the active roster to get some veteran leadership in there as well. The other notable news, Tyler Badie, the Broncos running back that was the most effective on Sunday against Tampa, well, he officially has been signed to the 53-man roster. So that indicates to you that the Broncos running backs will be a committee effort, and there is no clear number 1 running back anymore. I mean, Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin have been averaging under 3 yards a carry so far this year, and Tyler Badie was averaging over 8 yards a carry against Tampa Bay. So we'll see what happens if Badie ends up being the number 1 running back. That wouldn't surprise me. I also called for it last week in my last video, my instant reaction to the win in Tampa. So those are the big headlines coming into this week against the Jets. And this time the Broncos will not be able to avoid that bad man Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he is healthy for this year's matchup. He was not when the Jets came to Denver last year. So for the defense, communication becomes key. And they got to figure out who's going to be calling the plays in the huddle and divvying out responsibilities in audibles. So a lot to figure out in the next couple of days if you're Vance Joseph in the defense, because Aaron Rodgers, it's like that old Toby Keith song. He may not be as good as he once was, but he's as good once as he ever was. Rest in peace, Toby Keith. Because as the games have gone on through the first 3 games for Aaron Rodgers, he's looked pretty good. He looks like he could still throw that ball as good as he ever can, and really is starting to gain mobility. He moved a little more in that Patriot game on Thursday night in week 3. So the Broncos are going to have their work cut out for him. On top of stopping Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and Allen Lazard. So the keys to this game, it simply comes down to 3rd down and red zone efficiency. And the Broncos so far are at a disadvantage coming into this game. The Jets are the best 3rd down conversion team in the NFL. The Denver Broncos are 28th, and that's just offensive rankings. Red zone conversion, the Jets are 3rd, so they're scoring more touchdowns than the Broncos because Denver is currently 30th, and those rankings are provided by teamrankings.com, just to cite the source. So it simply comes down to this. The Broncos offense needs to continue to build off their momentum from the week 3 win in Tampa Bay. They need to be better on 3rd down because, as I mentioned in the last video, the Broncos weren't as good on 3rd down as the stats might suggest, but they were already in the scoring range So it allowed them to kick field goals and expand the lead. But they would have liked more touchdowns in the Tampa game than they actually got. And if you're the Broncos defense, can you get Aaron Rodgers off the field on third down? That's going to be the game right there. Whoever wins, and that's going to lead to the time of possession battle, and whoever wins that usually wins the game. So third down and red zone efficiency is going to be key for the Broncos as they try to build on some momentum that they got from the Tampa game. They're practicing in West Virginia this week. They're staying on East Coast time. They're building some chemistry and continuity in a different football environment than they're used to being back in Denver. So I think it's going to be interesting this week. The Broncos are 7.5-point underdogs going into this game, which is a ridiculous line because they were 6-point underdogs last week, and look what happened. Now, I'm not saying the Broncos should be favored in this game, but 7.5 points is a lot of money that they're giving. A lot of points that Vegas is giving the Broncos. So, it's one game at a time. They have a chance to get back to 500 before two crucial division rival games at home. And this is going to be a big one. We're going to find out a lot about this team come Sunday in New York. If they get to 500, it's a whole new season and everything's in front of them. Like I said on Sunday, that was the first win, but this one gets them back to 500 before division play.